So I'm going to go over in this video some basic stuff, I think, about the New World Order. If you already know all about it, you can move on to something else. I usually talk about Mandela effects and everything, but I also feel like with what's going on currently, and there's a lot going on currently, that it's also good to review basics. And for people who aren't on board yet with what those of us who pretty sure it's the New World Order, whatever you want to call it, this sort of one world system, its origins and where it comes from. It's in books, and people have talked about it for a long time, and they called it the New World Order, and they weren't mincing words. And how long it's been going on, and since way back, uh, people have been thinking about this and planning this, and it's all part of the structure of how our societies have been physically built, mentally built. We just land into this at birth, and we don't realize what's going on sometimes ever, especially in the past when we didn't have access to uh, the internet, things like this that consolidate information very quickly, bring it to the forefront. And so it's good to take a look at the past to see how they put it into our society. I mean, society has been constructed by these very same people, so it's very easy for them to, inject this. Their philosophies, uh, they have to put up a front to make sure that we don't catch on too quick, or we only catch on in a certain way. So I'm going to be going over a couple books. I found one recently which is just very interesting to me. It had all this ephemera in it with like the like newspaper clippings and things like that. But these were shots of Italy, by the way, 1933, and uh, but I believe it's Nice, I want to say, aboard the Rex ship. It was which was, I think, sunk in World War II. It was an Italian. It eventually carried Italian troops, and so they sunk it. The Allies did. Uh, but I just want to go over some basic things to show people that yes, they've been thinking about this, and especially as it relates to religion and other things. So I'm going to go over that. What spurred me to do this video was this book I just purchased. Very interesting book, and it's got this title, "The Red Network." So it's coming from this sort of a you could say a conservative point of view uh, about communism. But when we look back at communism, these people that were communists back in the day were they're part of the same network that the capitalists are part of. So you have to see it from that point of view that yes, they're the vanguard of this group that's setting up the New World Order, and they're communist, but the people directing them are the industrialists, the corporatists. Not all of them, but many of them. So, and in this book, this person is definitely, who's reading it, is making all these notes and keeping all these paper clippings, is definitely aware of the larger picture. He talks about Nesta Webster, makes little notes, or she makes notes, and I can't quite. They're from New Jersey. I can't quite identify who they are. They don't leave their name in the book, but they are definitely aware of the fuller picture. The Freemasonry. They've read Nesta Webster. Revolution is but thought carried into action. Emma Goldman. They mention Jesus Christ, where in the book. And they also, lots of those. A fighter. A lot of notes in this book. It's great. Einstein. Uh, they go over and how much he promoted himself. And they mention here this person, Mr. Harry Young, who this author has like consulted or whatever, is connected at one time with Rosicrucians, whether he knew it or not. So they have a deep. This person reading this book in 1935, I assume it's right around then, because that's when all the paper clippings are from. Has a deep understanding of what's going on, and it's just really great to go through the book. And they've left a bunch of clippings that are more like what is happening at the time, and so it's kind of neat to see their perspective, what they're looking at as it's happening in motion, uh, with this sort of book as an example of what they know, the kind of thing that they're reading at the time. And they get into people who, are showing how they're merging with the federal government and making things work to sort of like shift things around. Like the government was no angel at that time. In fact, they're pretty much the opposite of an angel. But you see how they have to do these kinds of things to shift into the new way, and it plays into World War II. They're moving into World War II. They know it ahead of time. Maybe not these people specifically, but they know the plan is to have a second World War, and then after that, the United Nations and all that kind of stuff. But so it's just reading this kind of thing. I mean, there's a lot in this book, but I do want to move beyond it at a certain point. I just want to show, like, this is independently published. She published it herself. Uh, Union Seminary, which is really big in the religious movement. I'm going to get into that in a second. League for Industrial Democracy, which is a students morphed into a Students for a Democratic Society, I believe. And so that's where you get a lot of people get their start there, especially in the 60s. What do we got here? All right, so I'm going to move on to the next book, which relates to this one, the types of people it has in it. Yeah, this is interesting. Reinhold Niebuhr, I believe, is how you say his name. I mean, you can call it communism or you can call it the New World Order. You know, the merging, really, of this corporatist state is with communism. That the sort of just this untouchable group you can't get uh, to change things. To fight against them is immediate annihilation. So I think I'm going to end the video here to keep it short, and then make a second video about the other book I wanted to talk about. Just kind of keep things short here for YouTube. All right, thanks.